here with Theda Sandiford, VP of Marketing at Universal Republic. How's it going today, Theda? Great to have you on the show.
Very good. Love being at South by, seeing all the cool new gadgets and playing with stuffs and seeing what other people are excited about too.
Yeah, of course. And so let's start by talking about what you're actually doing here at South by in terms of session. So you got a digital marketing bootcamp for artists here to talk about, what are the best steps for them to take, which is actually great, coming from a major label background to come here and talk to artists about what they should be doing in their own kind of smaller environment. So one thing I wanted to ask is, number one, mistake that you see usually artists make when they are working on their online stuff. What is the thing that artists most get wrong?
I think the biggest mistake most artists make on their online properties is not recognizing who their audience really is. Yeah. They have an idea who they think they are talking to, but they're not actually engaged in the conversation to know who they're talking to. And then when they do actually take that step, they will discover that there's likely multiple audience segments. The very engaged super fan, and then the more casual liker follower, and that they need to have two strategies to address both those audiences. And most artists just have one.
Yeah, and a lot of people, are talking about the super fans and how much you need to really focus on those and monetize those. But of course, there's no point focusing on them if you leave the rest of the fans behind. So how do you think it's possible to deal with both sides?
I feel like there's a way in which you can cater to the super fans that they can act on your behalf with the more casual fan. Yeah. I think there's also tools that you can add, if we're talking about Facebook in particular, there's some tools that you can add to your Facebook that will give a more enriched, engaged experience for your super fan. And then for your more casual fan, they might just want to see the pictures backstage at the show last night. So I think it's very important from both a tool standpoint and an actual content standpoint that you're thinking about both of those and employing those in your campaigns.
Sure, of course. And from a major label perspective, from the departments that I've come to know, there's been a lot of restructuring in the last few years of digital departments being first fragmented into various departments and then brought back together, and so there's kind of a back and forth on that front. So how do you feel the structure of a digital marketing department has changed in your experience of a major label? And do you think it's now becoming more functional as opposed to how it was maybe 5 years ago?
Wow, it's still changing. At Republic in particular, they had an experiment where they basically didn't have digital marketers, where the product managers were digital marketers. And I feel like that kind of thinking makes sense probably a generation from now. Yeah. Because there's still a lot of people that kind of grew up with the traditional product manager type of job functions, responsibilities, and they have to learn digital. And not everyone can make that transition. Sure. One of the things what I'm trying to accomplish is through various means. We do a lunch and learn where we invite anyone in the company that wants to talk about trends in the digital industry and how that applies to the music business and to our specific job functions. I do that once a month, and then people come. I'm constantly looking at how, as an organization, we do our business and thinking about what kind of technology solutions can I put in to make that easier, share of information. Anyway, I'm working on a wiki right now that should cut down the amount of email that gets sent, hopefully in half. Wow. If everyone, instead of sending an email, look at this great thing that just happened, but uploaded that into a back end, and then people could subscribe to which updates they want to get and get a daily digest at the end of the day, or be able to log in from their iPad to actually see the information when they want the information. That would be an extraordinary amount of hours I get back not having to figure out what email I need to take action on, or is this something I'm deleting?
Of course. And taking a look at the landscape for digital marketing, of course, we're seeing some huge numbers from some companies, like, for example, Pandora was talking about how 75% of the listening hours are on mobile, and their mobile advertising unit is doing surprisingly really well. RDO has revealed, I think 80% of the listeners are on mobile. And so how does the marketing play stand for labels when it comes to mobile? Because, of course, 3 or 4 years ago, everybody was talking about artist-specific apps, and they still are in a sense, but we're not seeing as big of a push or as many releases anymore as I would have thought. So how is that working?
Okay, well, one thing is I personally hate artist vanity apps.
Yeah.
When that was the trend was we're going to offer something exclusive through this mobile app. Well, they never offered anything exclusive through the mobile app. It was always more of what you can get on Twitter or Facebook or on the artist's webpage. Yeah. So I don't think the experience of that exclusive sort of mobile thing, the only thing you get for it really is the push messaging on the mobile phone. And honestly, that's not enough of a reason to have a mobile app. The other reason why artist vanity mobile apps are I believe, are a mistake is that you have to market and sell that app. Once it's in the App Store, if you're not in the top 20 or the second page of people looking through free apps, no one's finding you and they're not looking for you. And if you're not ranked there, you don't really exist. And the core business of a record company is to sell music. So the same amount of energy, effort, and marketing has to go into selling these apps, which you then can't sell music to as you would sell a music product. So either download, stream, or some sort of view you're driving on YouTube. Yeah. So right now, it just doesn't scale, and it doesn't make sense. I've switched every artist that says I want a mobile app. I said, great, go build it on yourself. Go ahead, and here's my recommendation how you would want to market it. But we're gonna make our money doing what we know that we could sell. So all our artist sites are now mobile optimized sites. So I find more people are searching on the phone looking for something, and all the data I see shows that the mobile search and people coming to the artist websites from their phones is greater than ever before. At least averaging anywhere from 30 to 70%, depending on the artist and the genre, are coming from mobile. They're not sitting there doing
no flash.
No flash, and limited on HTML5. But really, building off a platform that has responsive design, that's really looking at. Looking at how people across the board, less time spending testing various browsers, more time focused on people's consumption patterns on mobiles and tablets.
Of course. And on the streaming side, talking about streaming services, of course, they are getting much bigger. They're becoming an important part of any really digital marketing strategy. But at the same time, up until now, they haven't really done anything for the artist in terms of offering additional functionality when it comes to maybe presenting the artist in a certain way or helping sort of.
I don't know. That's not entirely true. I mean, Spotify has their emerging artist program. Yeah. They've actually made a commitment to kind of breaking an artist. They want to show that they can do that through streaming. Yeah. I think streaming providers is a tremendous discovery mechanism. Yeah. I like to use them on my mobile phone. I like to be able to cache a playlist on my phone so I can listen on the subway, on the train. Yeah. So I like the ability to be able to consume what I want when I want it and take it with me. Yeah. I also am very bullish on streaming services. I think downloads have now surpassed CDs, and it took, I guess, close to 15 years for that to happen. I suspect it's going to take around 7 years for streaming services to displace the downloads, and we're probably into 2 of those 7 years already.
Yeah.
So within 5 years, we're going to see that. So as they grow and as a lot of these streaming services really get their mobile apps together, even though a lot is moving to mobile, the experience is still kind of kludgy. I mean, I can sit here, I'm not going to name names, but I don't think any of them really do an exceptional job on mobile. There's things that I think as a consumer you would expect to be able to do. Yeah. It's like they have all these playlist making apps, but you can't make the playlist from your mobile phone. You have to do that on your desktop and then sync it up. And we know that that's actually content creation, and the number of people that actually do that are small. But that's how you gain scale.
Yeah.
You have to have that because those content creators share with their friends who they bring in.
Yeah.
So they need to fix a lot of things in their UI design.
But there's time.
Yeah,
for sure.
There is definitely time, and I have plenty of ideas on how they can do it.
So it's interesting, actually, relating to streaming. Like we can talk about radio. So, we have on-demand streaming services. We have sort of personalized radio services like Pandora, and then we have traditional radio. So you have a background in radio as well. You work on radio for quite a long time, and so how do you see the role of radio, traditional radio, changing in a campaign to break an act? I mean, in the UK, I was in a few panels where people kept talking about how radio is something that shouldn't be important anymore in theory because of the internet, but it's actually the most important thing.
You have one radio station.
Yeah, and it's still incredibly important to break an artist. Yeah, how's the situation in the US?
Well, I mean, we have multiple formats and tens of thousands of radio stations. So, a band like of Monsters and Men, which broke out of South by Southwest last year, started in one format, and is that same song, Little Talks, is just now crossing to top 40 a year later.
Yeah.
So I think I can only speak from the United States perspective because of the proliferation of all the different genres of radio stations and the time it takes from one song to move from one genre, from alternative, AAA to alternative to rock to top 40. That can take 18 months to pass through that entire cycle. Wow. I've noticed with apps like iHeartRadio, Last.fm for CBS, and I believe, I'll just talk about those two because those are probably the two biggest chains, CBS and Clear Channel. They are doing interesting things with their mobile radio apps. They have developing artist programs. Yeah. They're doing things within their apps where they will play music that they haven't even added to the radio station yet to warm it up, to see what data they get back. Are people requesting it? If they play that song after another song, and how through the mobile app, what is the reaction? Are people skipping? Are they staying around longer? And they're using this data that they then take to their terrestrial radio stations and kind of inform some of the programming decision process.
That's awesome. It's almost like A/B testing, like that.
I think so. Yeah, and it's really awesome that they're getting there and are starting to do that. So they also recognize that their local radio station is a local resource, whereas since so much of the programming is on a nationalized basis, national chains, syndicated programs coming in, that the local flavor of that radio station is really reflected on the website. Yeah. So you see that there's content and effort to create content when the artist is up at the radio station that can live on in an archive type environment on the local radio station website. So all that's very encouraging. Now, one thing I don't think most radio stations do very well, terrestrial stations, is they don't do social well. They're a traditional broadcast medium. I'm talking at you. And social is a conversation. And so when you look on their Facebook pages, you notice that there's very low talks about, which is an indication that there's low engagement on the page. Yeah. And that's something they could be doing a lot better job. It's not just, I shot this great video and interview with the artists when they were up at the station. It's what other content can you build around that piece of media that is more engaging as a conversation with the audience. And when radio stations learn how to do that, they will definitely be in a much better position socially competing against Pandoras and Spotifys and Ardios and Deezers and all of those type of applications.
Yeah, of course. And that brings up an interesting conversation talking about the role of the digital marketing department from a label's perspective, and if there's this crossover between the digital side and the traditional radio side, with them influencing one another in a way, where does the responsibility for the radio plugins sit when it comes to online radio? Does it still sit with the traditional pluggers or traditional part of the labels that will take care of that, or does it sit with you?
Right now it's with me because I speak the same language as the person that is doing the digital for the radio station. My hope is that we demystify the language and the programs and how to do it so that the radio department can do it. I feel that every department at a record company needs to have an understanding of how they apply digital as a not just as a tool set, but as a mindset of how they do business if they want to remain relevant in the future.
Exactly.
And slowly but surely it will happen. But again, it's generational. There's a whole, the next generation there'll never been any separation. There will have never been a, that was digital's job, because everyone does social. Everyone, blogs or tweets or Facebook. It's not this kind of outlier type experience. And that's not to say that there aren't people that are tweeting and Facebooking and Instagramming through the radio departments that I, interact with. But I would say that it's secondary, as opposed to, that's my first thing I think about in the morning. And that's something that they get around to.
Yeah, and it kind of reflects on something that I heard yesterday at the Made in New York panel over at the Museum of Art, where they were talking about how in New York technology is not an industry, but it's a meta-industry, because it's actually other industries from film to music to television that are coming in and using technology as an enabler to get the services off the ground that they want. But it's not a separate thing that is tech. Right. It's film using tech to create a service, or music to using tech.
Very few people are shooting on 35mm film anymore. I mean, it's digital, right? Most photographers are shooting digital. You can get radio. Gosh, if you bought a new car, you don't even have a CD player in the car. You had to have an MP3 player. You need to know how to work your Bluetooth to be able to port your music to something else. It's really pervasive in all aspects of our lives, and in time it really will kind of hit every single role in every single industry, not just music, not just film. I mean, look at comic books, look at every single industry being transformed right now.
Yeah. And let's talk about just a specific campaign maybe that you're particularly excited about, that you are either just finished with, or that you're working on at the moment. Is there anybody in particular that you'd like to point out?
I want to mention Austin Mahone. He is a YouTube all-star with over 500 million views. He is currently a Vivo Lift artist. He is probably the most in-tuned socially. He's 16 years old. He is tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking and shooting videos and interacting with his fans one-on-one. And the size of his networks are staggering. We're talking upwards of 10 million people. And he's doing it all. And he gets it. And it's really exciting to work with someone who is I mean, he plays 5 instruments. He's a true talent. And to be so young and talented and have such a command of technology, you know, he got signed because he built this huge YouTube following. And so it's exciting to work with someone like that, that gets it already and throw gasoline on it. And add true strategy, not just like, I heard this new cool app, I'm playing with it, but really think about how do you use that to sell tickets or build your fan club membership or build an online street team or build a game with the leaderboard attached to it that because you have a teen-based audience. So we're doing a lot of interesting things that way. I think, so if that's a particular artist I'm excited about because he is inherently social and I don't have to spend my time teaching, but really just kind of working in partnership to kind of figure out what's that thing I've always wanted to do with an artist that really wanted to do something really creative and fun. And in terms of other campaigns that I think are great, I'm always looking at what's actually happening from a user standpoint, user-generated content. What's the sentiment? What are the fans doing and talking about? Are they making drawings? Are they doing remixes? Are they making their own videos? Are they doing karaoke versions of things? Are they making lyric videos? And when I look at what kind of activity that's going on, I really design my campaigns around how do I create more of that? And how do I monetize against that content? And how do I take that content that is authentic because I'm Joe Schmo fan and I made it and I'm sharing it with my friends. Not I'm the record company sanctioned piece of content. I have those things. But how do I give tools to those individuals that are creative, that want to use our artists to help express their own creativity?
Of course.
So I'm particularly excited about campaigns like that. I'm trying to think about, for every project, have something like that.
And it's a reactive world, so like the world of somebody like yourself or a digital department at a major is really, as much as it is to try and find ways to really market the tracks on the digital side, also to react to what's happening online and what the fans are doing. And so like, do you find it hard sometimes to maybe not yourself, but do you see like people struggling sometimes with the fact that sometimes a campaign can run away with you and like, something can become hugely popular that you hadn't accounted for and the track can become popular in a different way than what had been originally envisaged by the artist or by the marketing? I don't
find that being a problem because digital allows you to be nimble. So I'm literally daily assessing our campaigns. I'm looking at the clicks, I'm tracking everything, I'm looking at my Google Analytics, I'm looking at I'm looking at all my data. And if I'm not doing it every day, I'm certainly doing it every week. And the data will tell me it's working, it's not working. If it's not working, I then figure out, is it not working because our copy's unclear? Is our landing page optimized? Have we clearly defined what our key performance indicators are? Or is the record just not a hit? Sometimes the record's not a hit. Sometimes the artist is a superstar, but the record is not a hit. So I'm looking at all of that and making decisions constantly, all the time. Do more of this, less of that. A/B testing stuff literally daily. So if you use the data and if you designed your campaigns in such a way where at the start of your campaign you said, this is my goal and these are my key performance indicators, and you stick to that, you can optimize through to completion of that campaign. Sure. If you start a campaign and you're doing marketing for marketing's sake, you may hit your goal, you may not hit your goal. You're really not doing marketing. You're filling up a checklist, I did something, as opposed to I did something that reacted in X. So I'm really trying to bring that kind of discipline to all my team and within the organization to teach people how to think that way. I mean, everyone has their, like, what's the ROI for that's equivalent for, their job function.
Yeah.
But because digital is prevalent across all jobs now,
Yeah.
to really kind of instill that kind of discipline in the thinking so that we're really making the right decisions at the right time.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for talking to the DMT report from South by Southwest, and have a great music festival starting next week.
You too. Please come see some of my bands.
Absolutely.
All right. This will probably appear afterwards, so I won't say
I'll probably go out tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, will it?
Yeah.
Okay. So republicrecords.com/South by Southwest. We have over 50 artist showcases. So come and have fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.